So I just wanted to prove that it does actually get pretty sunny here in Minnesota. It's a beautiful day. We're going to take advantage of a little bit of the sunlight. It's about 24 degrees Fahrenheit. It's just balmy. We've got about 16 months of winter left. Garden boxes. So here's that thermally modified pine. What is thermally modified pine? Great question. This stuff is 2x6s, but it has been kiln dried until the sap within is crystallized. So it is pine boards. You can tell it's a little bit darker. It's not cedar-toned. It's not dyed in any way. It's just baked further in the kiln, and they bake it until sugars will crystallize once they melt and then become crystallized. So it does create a little bit more of a brittle surface. So you do have to pre-drill these or they start to split and crack on you. But otherwise, it's very rot resistant and pest resistant in the same way that cedar is and in the same way that pressure treated lumber is. So creates a really cool copper coloring to it, and it's cheaper than cedar. Let's do it the right way. To join these pieces up from this thermally modified pine, we're gonna use pocket holes. We're gonna join up square panels for each end to rectangles on the sides, and then we're gonna use corrugated stainless steel. That's gonna save us on weight, it's gonna save us on cost, and it's gonna save us on ugly because these things look sharp. Let's get going. I just gotta chop up all of my pieces, and then we can start drilling the pocket holes. All right, so here, fairly straightforward. I am cutting the stiles for each of these frames. Those are the small, short pieces, vertical pieces throughout each of the frames. All of those are going to be cut to 10 inches, so this is pretty easy. I set up a stop block, and I'm going to slide each board in to hit the stop block, and makes it very easy to do quick, repeatable cuts. This next section here, I am cutting the rails, looks like for the short ends, so those are 36 inches. So I'm cutting 36-inch long pieces. This specific type of wood, the way this pine is baked in, it crystallizes that sap, and when you saw that stuff, that puts out this fine crystallized powder into the air that gets on every surface in your shop. So I know that you should anyway, mask up, use your dust mask all the time. Of course I do every time as well. You should definitely, if you only wear it sometimes, you should definitely wear it on this project if you are using that thermally modified pine, because every surface in my shop right now is covered in this stuff. It's just really nasty, crystallized dust. It will torment your lungs. Not now, maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but when you have emphysema 40 years from now. So we are having fun. All right. Does anybody else just geek out when you have almost zero offcuts because you measured so well? Little humble brag. We have all of our pieces chopped up, ready to go. They're my 10-inch stiles. Here are my 36-inch rails and my 6-foot rails for the 2 rectangular boxes. Now we need to get out and set up the pocket hole jig. I use the Kreg Jig like everyone else, and we are going to drill up a bunch of pocket holes. I like to make hash marks on here so it's dummy proof. So I'll usually just quickly face them. So I like this side better. That's going to be the outside so that I know behind here I'm going to draw 2 hash marks. That means I'm going to drill the pocket holes equidistant apart on both those sides. So I'm just going to quickly go through here, face all of these. This one has a knot, so I'm going to keep that on the inside. Kreg jigs are great because they come with their own setup measurements, and everything is just dummy proof. They're just shy, I don't know if you see that, just shy of 1 1/4. So you put this stop collar into this jig and you place it there. I'm gonna set this to 1 1/8, and we should be all dialed in now. I've got this set up with my depth. I've done my test cuts, made sure that works. So now I'm just gonna run through all of my stiles. These are the uprights in between each of these frames that we're gonna build. And I'll drill in these pocket holes. Entering time lapse. So if you're new to using Kreg jigs, here's how I organize mine. Even if you're an old hand at this, I've used this Milwaukee sorting box for these. Works great. And then I highly recommend saving the lids. You don't have to go measuring which ones are which. So I saved these lids so I don't have 100 of these boxes laying around. And then I can just take the box of 1 1/2, and that's my project. I don't get messed up with any of the other screw lengths. This I picked up somewhere is a box specifically made for the Kreg jig. It's deep enough that it fits everything in it. I think the newer ones come with wings, so meaning if you had a wider board, I just grabbed some scraps, made sure they're the correct height, and then I just keep them in here. I actually have some double stick tape on the back. You'd be surprised how long that lasts. So I can just put this in place, and it stays enough to make do a project. If I've got wide boards in here, I've got 2 of them, and I could just throw these on either side of it. And then when I'm done, I'll just pull that up. But the double-sided tape at least keeps it from sliding around, works well enough for the project, and then I just keep these on hand. Everything fits right in this box. So it fits the clamps, it fits the jig and everything. But what I could use some advice on is, what is the dust collection like on these new ones? Because if you folks are using the new, I don't know, K1000, whatever they call it, not the end of the world, but it would be nice to have integrated dust collection, and I think those new ones do. So let me know in the comments if you're using that and what you think. I appreciate the channels that show their mistakes, and there's always little things here and there. But I just want to show a mistake that I made. So the 6-foot long boards, I didn't even think to measure because I bought 6-foot long boards. Well, as it turns out, someone was just running silly on their tape measurements, because some are 71.5, some are 72, some are 72.5. And when we're talking half to an inch, the woodworker in me comes out, not the construction worker. So it turns out square is that ½ inch here. Someone really was just acting silly today. So I'm just going to take the circular saw and run it over the edge and make a nice clean cut. For the rest of those though, now I'm going to have to measure, and if we're only as fast as the slowest buffalo, so if there are 71.5 inch boards over there, I'm going to cut all of them to 71.5. So good times. All right, onward. All right, you notice I got that Bessie clamp out. That really helps when putting together pocket screws. It just holds both pieces together very tightly, so you can just focus on drilling those screws exactly where they need to go. The pieces don't move around at all. They don't push against the opposite board at all, and it just pulls everything together nice and tight. The order of operations for this project is the sheet metal. And I'm going to screw those in with metal to wood screws, very specific self-tapping screws. So we've got our sheet metal here that we've bought at the local big box store. It is 24 inches across, 25 1/4 inches across, but we're just going to take them right down the center. Doesn't have to be a perfect cut because you're not going to be able to see that side of it. Straight as you can make it, right down the center, we'll be able to utilize for both panels. And then on the edges, you cut that in half, and that's going to be used for both side panels. So one sheet perfectly fits a 6x3 garden box. Couldn't have designed it better myself. And for this very specific project, I have a very special tool that has been a game changer. You could use tin snips. I've done it before. I have the scars to prove it. It is a total pain in the butt for these long run cuts. It's a nasty business. But then I bumped into this thing, which I don't know exactly how much it cost. It paid for itself within 5 seconds. I think it was under 35 bucks. I bet you anything. It connects right to your drill, goes a mile a minute, and cuts through this stuff like butter. You'll see it in action. But then these self-tapping tips they come in really handy, and they drive right into the steel without having to pre-drill them. So these are slick. Parkour! Hey, how are you? So what I did here was I put some parallel clamps on the table, just upright there, because I needed a helping hand. So I can balance this one now up against those clamps. It's tough working. Oh, what do you got there? Sweet corner clamp from Kreg. Oh, that's awesome. All right, back to work here. That is a sweet clamp, though. All right, well, that's all she wrote. We've got 2 big boxes set up. They are ready to be filled with dirt, and it turned out really well. Very nice. Well, this was a nice little project. It was faster than green grass through a goose. It'll be great for that 2-month growing season that we have here. As always, thanks for watching. Keep your chisels sharp and your ducks gray duck. Here from Minnesota, we'll see you in the shop.